1987, a 14-year-old boy who was becoming famous by the name Wonder Kid was suddenly having a disappointing afternoon because he could not receive the Junior Cricketers Award by BCA.
So the legendary cricketer wrote him a letter saying, "Don't get disappointed for not getting the Junior Cricketer of the Year award from the BCA. If you see the past award winners, you will see one name missing. And that person is not doing badly in Test cricket."
This letter for that 14-year-old boy turned his gloomy afternoon into a joyful one.
The legendary cricketer who wrote this letter was none other than Sunil Gavaskar. And the Wonder Kid is the another legendary cricketer from a different era, of course. He is Sachin Ramesh Tendulkar. You see, when the right words are fed to the brain at the right time, it does go a long way.
And that's exactly what we are going to do in this new season of Personality Development Podcast. Feeding the right words for public speaking in your brain with our public speaking experiences.
Hello everyone, this is Aaditya Mehta.
And I'm Nityanshi Mody, and welcome to the brand new season of Personality Development Podcast, which is all about public speaking experiences, from embarrassment to empowerment.
So if you are a person who easily gets afraid on the stage in front of the audience, or you are someone who just wants to improve their public speaking skills, you are at the right place.
Now, before we begin with the podcast, let's give a huge shout out to our sponsors for the season, New Image Consulting. They are dedicated to help individuals and businesses alike to build a personal brand for themselves and live life to the fullest.
So here we are then, starting the new season with the new episode today. It's the first one, by the way, and intro music is going to get started now. In the meantime, what you can do is click on the follow button and click on that bell icon as well, because I don't want you to miss out any episode.
Hello and welcome back to the Personality Development Podcast.
In today's episode, we have a blend of mathematics and psychology. They have been on this podcast for the entire season 6 earlier, and they have found some great value, and because of that they are on this podcast again, but this time not only as experts but as our sponsors.
Yes, and the experts for today's episode are also the co-founders of New Image Consulting.
So please allow me to welcome the dynamic duo Sonal Gadvi and Bhuvneshwari. Hello, Sonal and Bhuvneshwari.
Hello.
It's so good to see you.
Namaste.
So good to see you, Aditya, all over again, and it's been a wonderful journey that we are following. You're really progressing well.
Yeah,
you.
and it's always a pleasure to have conversations with you, but it's a pleasure to see you this time.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Thank you so much. But before we dive into the conversation and the introductions and everything else, the first thing which I really would like to ask, how does it feel to come back to the family of listeners? Because you told last time that now you are a part of the family.
Absolutely.
So how does it feel like to get back to the family?
At home.
Right? Yeah,
Right.
it feels so familiar. It feels like this whole desire to, add more value and learn more from you as well.
That's amazing.
We talk about, as our tagline says, embarrassment to empowerment. Then who better than communication coaches and image builders to share their experiences on this tagline?
Oh.
I know the audience already know them very well, okay? But I also would like to ask them if you can give what's new with you guys, with the audience, because that is something which audience would love to know about.
Sure.
So please go ahead and say that first.
What's new with new, right?
What's new with you?
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
new with new?
Oh, a lot. We've I think crossed 85,000 hours plus
Easily.
of training and
Plus,
coaching.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and yes, we are communication coaches, but the newness to that, what we bring is the holistic approach that both of us take in each and every workshop or session that we take with any individual or groups. And yes, storytelling has been the most trending one these days, right?
Absolutely.
There's a lot of demand that corporates and even individuals come to us and say that, teach us the art of communication and how to strike a conversation and how to present something in the most interesting way. And that's why I think that is really trending
Right.
these days, and that's what's keeping us really interested in what we do and passionate about it.
Yeah.
That's
I'd,
wonderful.
I'd also like to add that what's new is that finally we have a lot of people who have contacted us and have started discussing the fact that, hey, I have reached this level in my life.
Wow.
What else is possible?
What else is possible? That's a great question to ask yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. And when you mentioned about storytelling, particularly audience, we also have started storytelling episodes. So you can just go back a few episodes and you are going to find the storytelling episodes as well, where me and the co-host Nityanshi Mody have given our voices and narrations over there. And I'm sure you're going to love it and you are going to dive in that story, rather, I would say. Coming back to Sonal and Bhuvneshwari, you also mentioned about storytelling, and I really recall the conversation which we had. You were saying that storytelling as a module is also trending right now
Absolutely,
in
yes.
in new, right?
Yes.
So if you would like to shed some light on that as well.
Sure, sure. So what happens typically is that these corporates, where they feel that there is a certain kind of department or individuals who are not really opening up, they're client facing. We feel even the internal stakeholders, when you need to interact effectively with each other.
Right.
So when they see this kind of need arising, where people are not being able to open up and converse with external or internal stakeholders, these kind of modules are really effective, because what happens is we shoot them just before starting the entire journey with us of those 2 days.
Right.
And they're raw in that sense. They are a little underconfident, they don't know the nuances, a little tools and tricks that are important to keep in mind when we want to present
Yeah.
something or speak to somebody. And mind you, even one-on-one is a performance, is
Yeah.
public speaking, according to us. It's not only about facing a large audience and then getting prepared and going, but each interaction needs to be made very, very interesting.
Yeah.
You need to captivate the audience's attention at all times. So what happens is when we shoot initially, they realize that okay, this is just raw, and once they're into the module and the journey with us, there are a lot of different tools and tricks that we enable them with. And then there is the other day where a lot of mocks happen, a lot of ideas are thrown, they learn from each other, there's a lot of experience sharing about how they feel or how they are writing a particular subject or script. And then we shoot them after that, those 2 days, and it's a paradigm shift and a humongous experience that they've gained, and the insight that, oh, when I'm standing on the stage or when I'm presenting to a few people in the boardroom or each other, this is how I'm coming across. This is how I'm looking, my body language is like this, my words are like this, my pronunciations are like this, the command of my language is like this, and so on and so forth. So they get a lot of insight on how this whole entire demeanor of theirs is being represented, and then they note their work upons from there and then start developing themselves.
Yeah.
Wow.
Also, being able to improve it's a very different kick altogether.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes. We still are doing it, right?
Yeah. We always perceive ourselves in a particular way.
Yes.
Right? And we need to widen the lens, because when we are thrown on stage to speak for 2 minutes, everyone has some memory of a style that they would wish to inculcate. And when it is not delivered effectively, then it kind of holds you back in life. And we believe that this skill can be extrapolated to all areas of life. Okay, all areas of life. And what happens is that if I meet you for the first time, or I'm speaking to 200 people, I just need to adjust these skills a little bit, and I'm out there and I'm interesting. So first we need to work with self perception, and then you need to widen the lens in the way you see yourself, and the way the world will see you will change.
Wow.
True.
That's interesting.
Because even I've heard somewhere that the way you look at yourself, the world will also look at you in the same way. So you have to be very, very confident in the way you are seeing yourself.
To start with, you're right that if you're confident and if you exude that, then the other will take you for that, right? But it has to be genuine confidence.
Yes.
And how does that come? By knowing yourself absolutely well.
Right.
And working on understanding who you really are. Once you know that, there's genuine confidence that comes out.
True.
And then yes, the world is seeing that and takes it for what it is. But otherwise there can be a little disconnect between that, and that's what we don't want. That's what we call communication gap, right?
I think, that too, and we call them perception gaps.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting, because we normally start our workshops with conversations about saying that, hey, how much do you know yourself really? Nobody teaches us that in school and college and all the degrees that we have. We need to work on the perception that we have of ourselves. We need to have understanding of what the world is really interpreting in when they see us. And the third is the working on who I really am, which is a lifelong journey.
Wow.
So these are the kind of highlights that we can, share with you and our listeners, where it's very, very important to understand these 3 layers of self. And only when I'm able to understand that can I open up.
Wow.
Then I can speak to public.
Right.
It starts with a conversation with yourself.
Right. Such great wisdom with these 2 amazing ladies over here, the entrepreneurs who are teaching the world how to speak. Some interesting terminologies and some interesting phrase which you used over there, and the first one which really caught my attention was thrown at stage. Okay, that's that was a wonderful phrase, and that really caught my mind as well. Now you were thrown at a stage, okay, and without any preparation, and normally this happens at many households. Specifically my mom does it. I don't know about yours. Okay,
They're pros in doing it.
yeah, okay. So have you ever been in a situation where you are not prepared, okay, but you are thrown at a stage as well? So your first public speaking experience along with the first experience where you were thrown at the stage.
Okay, so sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you all must know this, and we take real pride in the legacy that we've lived, and our families are from the performing arts industry.
Yeah.
Right. So we have lived and breathed and eaten and had done everything on the stage and backstage, and then from the audience side, so that we understand the subject even more ever since we were born, because we were born in these families. Since 3-4 generations we've had these legends that we've observed and gained so much, and we've just absorbed from our environment. So we are very, very blessed to have that first, and that's why there is a lot of ease in what we do, right? Because we of course there are a lot of techniques, and of course there is lots that we observed, and that's why we become who we are and we can do what we do. But I want to address this because it is a very important part of who we are and how capable we have become in this journey. Correct. Right? So having said that, that's why we've always been on stage, right? So there is, if you would ask us when, oh my god, we can't even remember. Maybe
I think it must have been this young and thrown.
Yeah, we might be just thrown and say, do something.
Right.
So it's difficult to recollect exactly when we stepped on any stage. But if I talk about myself, then school was definitely the starting point. where anything that would happen on stage, whether it was dance, whether it was a play that was happening, whether it was the speech for Independence Day, or any comparing, or a fashion show comparing, which was again
Right.
choreographed also by me, and I would be the part of all this and yet do a role, and right, so everything was handled, and
Right.
it gave me immense pleasure to be on stage. So yes, these were the few in times that I remember that these could be the first time that I was on the stage. Be it fancy dress competitions, right? You had to speak a dialogue and say this, you own your whole character that you're playing.
Right.
And yes, all that has happened. And then one also remembers that this legacy, this innate, ability to do this or be on the stage was never taken for granted. Right? We've all prepared before going on that stage, no matter what age we were, no matter how many times we went on that stage.
Right.
And if I have to speak about an incident or a one that stands out where our family members would push us and we're literally like on the stage and like, okay, now I have to speak. Right? So yes, I can recollect a couple of such, but I'll talk about the one with mother, because mothers are amazing, and I think they are the ones who really do this to us so that we can grow and become who we are, right?
True.
So I would like to speak about her, and she's an immensely inspiring person, generally also, of course, to be. And so she is a writer, and she wrote this book some years back, and it's on old age homes. Right? She had gone and stayed there with my grandmother while she was ailing, and she took care, and she stayed for a very, very long time, taking care of her. And then she observed different people and all of that, and then she shared those experiences in that book. So when she was launching this book, of course the whole family was there to support her, and she threw me into it, and she said, no, you have to talk about my book and address the audience. I'm like, okay, what am I doing now? And honestly, I had not read the book because I can't read Gujarati. I can speak very well. So I told her, Mom, it's so unfair that I do this because I've not read the book. I've heard each story that you've shared with me, and I know what's there in the book and the essence of the book. I've heard it from you. I've not read the book. This is not fair.
I'm genuinely interested what happens next in that.
So then I go on the stage. Then she's like, no, you must. And then the compare and some of the legends again of the Gujarati writing industry and storytelling industry were all there, and she said, no beta, you have to go. So I'm like, okay. Like now I'm in the spot, I can't even say no. So then I said, okay. I just spoke to myself for a second and I said, what is this one thing that I want to address? What do I want to say? And I own it because I believe it, and it's my own philosophy that I would like to live by, right? So I just collected and gathered my thought on that one little topic and point, and then I went on the stage. I tried my best to be best at Gujarati, right? Because yes, English
But
comes.
you are good.
Yes, I'm very proud to be a Gujarati, and it comes really easily. But when you're standing on such a stage with such esteemed guests, you want to, be at par with the language, right?
That's a toughie.
So which is tough. So I did that, and I went there and I spoke about what I had to, and I honestly said that I have not read the book, but here is my mother, she's told me everything about the book, and here I stand. And then I spoke about how the family has to have a balance between the old generation and new generation, and it definitely went really well for me.
Wonderful.
And so much so that I really got a loud applaud, and even after the whole speech was over and the whole event was over, of course my mother's book was the center of everything, and everybody praised that. But there were people who were coming to me and said, my God, what a topic you raised, and what honesty, and so on and so forth, and how you with very simple way of addressing and the language, there was no difficult words, but you still managed to really express what you were and wanted to say. And we really are taking this back because there were a lot of elderly people in the crowd, and they said this was so important to take back this one point that you raised, and we remember that forever. So I really cherish this moment, and I'm so thankful to Mom that she pushed me there, because that not only enhanced and made me more confident on how I can present, but it showed me immediately who I really am,
Ah,
right? Because
right.
I'm the one who feels that family life has to be a balance. Old and new generation needs to strike a balance. Leadership, this, that.
Yeah.
So suddenly I came to know so many things about myself.
Yeah.
And that is the beauty of public speaking and presenting in public, that you come to know so many things about your own self.
True. You know, why also I feel you got so many applause is also because of the candidness and the honesty with which you presented.
I agree.
So a lot of times I feel, that innocence that we have in the beginning journeys,
Yes.
I think that also really works for us. So we all often take stress about how are we going to present, how are we going to look, is our language okay, not okay.
True.
But sometimes what really works for us is the honesty and the candidness, the innocence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
True. I totally agree.
I totally agree as well. Audience, we just got to know one important thing, actually two. The first one is Gujarati bolvu sachemach bau agru છે. And the second one is whenever you are on the stage, okay, you just have to think about what points you want to cover, and sometimes that does work as well. It worked for
Yeah, I would
Bhubaneswari.
like to even I recollect this, that the compare then said that in Gujarati, they said, આ સૌથી ભાર વગરનો આભાર હતો. So, which was the greatest compliment I got,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, that made
Can you
sense.
please explain the meaning of that?
Yeah, so
There's no
it was
pressure.
a thank you speech, and he said this was the most lightest, bhar vagarno abhar. It is actually the play of words, but which rhyme, but actually says that this was the lightest way of and the most sweetest way of saying thanks to
Right.
mom that she's wrote such a beautiful, written such a
Wonderful.
beautiful.
Yeah. The pressure of language there.
The
Yeah.
pressure of language. Yeah, what about you, Sohan?
What about me?
Have you had
Oh
the
my
experience?
God, I
such?
have lots in school and all of that, but
Yeah.
and I come from a family of storytellers.
Yeah.
Gadvis.
Gadvi.
Right? My God, the pressure is another level. I grew up thinking, what would Abhishek Bachchan be thinking? You know, he's Amitabh Bachchan's son. Expectations are of another level, right? So I grew up with Mr. Manubhai Gadvi, who told stories for a living, and then my elder brother, may he rest in peace, told stories by making films.
Wow.
But when I was growing up, you had that kind of an environment. So you watch and you learn. Key number one.
Observation.
Okay? Observation is your biggest teacher. Okay?
Right.
True.
And then came a time when I felt that it was my first year in college, the incident that I want to share with you. I think it is a very interesting perspective for everybody here. That when you come from this kind of family, you probably land up thinking, oh, I'll just go on stage and I'm just going to say whatever. It does not work like that. Okay? The key was that I decided to stand for elections in my
Wow.
first year of college at Jai Hind.
Wow.
So they said you have to make a speech. So I said, okay. I sat down to write and I couldn't. I went blank. And I took help of my brother who helped me write a speech, who helped me memorize it, who helped me deliver it. And now in hindsight, I feel that despite of your upbringing, despite of your DNA, despite of all of that, preparation for step number one is very, very important.
Right.
Right? So I practiced it a little bit, and when I went up there, the magic happened.
Wow.
This is combination of experience, DNA, and practice and preparation and all of that. Because when I stood up on that platform and I said, time. In today's world, time is very important. And that's what I will not waste. My name is Sonal Gadvi. I am standing for elections for class rep, blah, 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 blah. And my actions will speak louder than my words. And whatever, I finished it. Thinking that, oh my God, my life is going to end here in the first year of college. And oh my God, like Jai Hind is over. I'm not going to make any more friends and all of that. And there was like a pin drop silence for like a few seconds, which seemed like years.
It does, right?
It does.
It seemed like years, and then there was this roar and uproar and claps and all of that. And there were a few school friends also, but I had not planted them. But that suddenly made me realize that, oh my God, my self-worth is good enough, but I shouldn't have played with it a little bit. Okay, so I realized that time that, oh, I did a good job because I got the feedback. It built another level of confidence in me,
Right.
and I won the election.
Wonderful. Congratulations on that. What I did just now was I actually tried to imagine you back as a candidate who is standing for the election, and I actually imagined the entire speech the way you have said it, or you might have said it before. But that's pretty amazing.
That's the magic
That's
of
the magic.
storytelling, my friend.
The tagline for our season is embarrassment to empowerment.
Oh, yes.
From your experience, what I can assume is at that time, I can, visualize you standing in that position, in that silence, thinking that was maybe the most embarrassing situation. But from audience perspective, it was so empowering.
Yeah.
Because post those applauds, you realize that it brought so much confidence in you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of realization, like how preparation
many.
is important
Many.
and what exactly works for you, what doesn't.
Many. And also the leadership quality, like you mentioned.
Absolutely.
And we say this to everybody who we work closely with. Everybody is a leader.
Right.
True.
And we just need to poke that skill within us, okay? Because it will pop out. It will.
Right.
And the best way to do it is whether you're speaking to 2-3 friends or you're speaking to a large crowd on a TED talk, could be. Magic can happen.
Wonderful.
So true.
But Bhuvaneshwari, what I would like to understand from you is, you told us that your mother was, a big source of push for you.
Okay, yes.
And what I realize in today's times is that not a lot of people are willing to push their limits, especially when it comes to public speakers or for people who are introverts but, want to become a public speaker. So I think that is a very crucial part where, people are not pushing their limits as much as they should.
True.
So what is your take on that, both of yours?
Sure.
Okay,
So firstly, let's break the myth of introverts and extroverts. Can we
Okay,
do that
and then
first?
I'd
Yeah.
like to speak about another myth, which is the fear.
Yes, sure.
That's true.
So what I was saying is that we want to break the myth of who an introvert is and who an extrovert is. Why? Because an introvert might have this internal notion, and it may be a hindrance for that person to go on the stage. An introvert is basically a person who is a little private in nature, doesn't want to reveal everything about themselves, and is also this person who draws inspiration from within. They need that little me time. They want to read a book or do something of their own and come back to social life.
Right.
That is an introvert. It's not about, oh, they won't open their mouth, they're not good at public speaking, they're not going to interact well. I've seen some immensely amazing individuals who have been introverts, who are protecting their personal life and being so private, and yet when they meet people, they're awesome conversationalists. I'm one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same here.
Okay.
Yeah, and now talking about the extroverts. Our friend Sonal over here is an extrovert. She draws energy, or extroverts, to say that, draw energy from the external environment. They need good energy around them. They need to converse with people. They learn by observing other people. All these things are about the extrovert, okay? And they feel it very easy, and they're in fact excited whenever it's time to go on the stage or speak to any one individual or a group of people.
Yeah, we can't wait for it.
Now, Now, because this is a myth and people have misunderstood these concepts, we feel that, oh, we just stereotype, if a person is extrovert, they will be like this, they'll be very good at public speaking. And if the person is introvert, they will be hesitant, they won't like to interact more, they won't be great presenters. It's a myth. When time comes, when there is a need that one wants to talk and express themselves or wants to share something very interesting that they really believe in, an introvert will step up and do it and go back to their zone, right? So there is nothing of this sort, that one is better than the other, or the other is better than the other. That this is a myth. So please, everyone that is hearing this and listening to this podcast, firstly remove this myth that, oh, I'm an introvert, I like to be on my own, and so I won't be able to do this ever in my life. No, I'm doing it, you can. Right? And yes.
Yeah,
you were
there's
saying
no
about
black
it.
and white.
Yes.
She's equally extrovert when required, or when she feels the need to.
Right.
And I go back into my space as well. So that's there. I also want to talk about the number one phobia in the world. What do you think that is?
We are doing the season of it.
Right. So people say spiders and heights and crocodiles and snakes and insects of different kinds, and then there's other experiences that people have.
Right.
Public speaking is the number one.
Not being able to express yourself.
And we have worked with people from different backgrounds, and you can't even imagine the inhibitions that an individual who's well established, who does it regularly, but still is quite intimidated by it. So public speaking is a phobia as well.
Right.
So what is it that I can do to overcome that and channelize that energy, that anxiousness or that nervousness into excitement?
Right.
Right? Quick hacks for that are available. Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
There are-
completely, yeah.
Sorry.
I completely relate with it. That's what I wanted to say, because in my childhood, okay, I was being considered as an introvert. I wasn't. I had this issue of social anxiety. Okay, I had crippling social anxiety in my formative years, and everyone actually judged me as an introvert. So I can completely relate with what you guys are saying.
Right.
But yeah, please go
And
ahead.
then even if you were feeling a certain way, Aditya, you chose your actions differently.
Yeah.
Right? That is what's most important. That we will feel as coaches or as public speakers, when we are addressing a crowd of 200, even 500, I think, and online it's even beyond that, right?
Or even one.
Even one.
Even one.
What happens is, once we are prepared, we know our thing well. If still before going to the stage, even Sir Amitabh Bachchan shares this, right? That ये सब होता है. Everything is happening. Yeah, we
Right.
have butterflies. We are feeling, imagining. We are manifesting. We are going to see that okay, everything is going to happen in this way and not that way. And then there is this little thing that hope everything goes well. Emotions, feelings will always be there. These negative ones and the most positive ones.
Yeah.
Right.
What we choose after that and beyond that, the action need not depend on these negative feelings that we are feeling at that particular time, right?
But but like having these nervous energies is also, I feel, a good thing.
Yes, because then, as we said in the beginning, you won't take things for granted.
Absolutely.
You
Right.
will prepare, you will do your thing the way you have planned. You will not take the audience or that opportunity for granted, right? Yes.
That's wonderfully said. And this is going a great conversation, and I'm loving this conversation. But and we have really asked some amazing questions, and so I'm really proud
Oh
of
yes,
us right
that
now.
it's not the answers, it's the questions.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. But thank you so much for all the insightful answers. However, there is just one last question, and that really,
Oh, is it last?
yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
But we don't want to go no.
We have wished to carry this conversation for hours and hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've done that. We've done
We have
that.
done that, right?
That's what we like doing with Aditya, and now even you.
Okay. Now coming back to the question. Now this question actually explains the reason of this entire season which we are doing.
Okay.
Okay. That is from embarrassment to empowerment.
Okay.
The biggest problem with people right now, that's what I believe, is that when they do a mistake, they panic. I did that in my first public speaking experience. I panicked after doing that one mistake.
yes.
Right.
Okay, and I wasn't able
rubbing my
to
hands
own
in
up to it.
anticipation.
Okay, right? So, about this mistake, and I do understand that you guys are, you are the biggest public speakers. You are creating
no,
public
no.
speakers rather than.
That you say
But I'll take
but
that.
there are greater people, and
Of
we
course.
are also learning everything.
You're one of them for sure, okay, because you are creating public speakers rather than, and of
Oh,
course,
yes.
you are the public speakers. So, I'm sure mistakes do happen, right?
Absolutely.
How do we?
All the time. Nah.
Of course, not all the time.
Nah.
But how do we navigate through that? And that's basically the heat of the moment as well. You
Right.
do a mistake.
True.
There are like 2,000 people or maybe 200 people or 20 people. In fact,
Right.
they all are watching at you and they look at you in a way that you are not from this world, right?
Yes.
So.
Yes.
That's the whole beauty
Yeah.
of how to not have that, right?
Right. So how to not have that and how to not have that panic moment after we do a mistake on the stage.
No, we are superhumans and superwomen, so we don't make mistakes.
No.
No, we are all human, and yes, it's just natural to make mistakes or sometimes just fumble. Yes, that happens to me in so many different workshops that we conduct. And sometimes when you're speaking at that speed, when the audience is really captivated and they're excited, and then the volume modulation etc raises, then there's a lot of energy. There is bound to be a certain fumble or you miss out on saying things. And yes, these are all very natural things that happen, right? Because as we said, it's not scripted. We own our concepts, we know what we are talking about very strongly, and then we stand there and say and share our experiences and say what we have to say. So yes, mistakes happen. However, again, going back to our legacy and the way we've observed our ancestors perform, and we've heard what these tricks and tools are, that when you're on stage or when you're talking to somebody and you make a certain mistake, it's important that it doesn't come on your face. A, because the audience yet doesn't know, right? They don't know.
They don't know.
Because even if it's a dance or a role that you're playing or any concept that you're sharing as a coach, it's important that firstly it doesn't come on the face. Own it, it's okay, it's happened, you internalize it. Now that these things, because of experience, happen in fractions of seconds. It's because of practice this happens, right? And then you say you're sorry if you have to, and say sorry, I'll correct that, and say the entire sentence once again.
Yeah.
It'll only make you look more human and natural. Second thing, what I do is that sometimes if it is a fumble and there's blah, 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 that's happened, I actually go into saying blah, 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 and then I laugh at myself, right? And the audience also laughs. And then, but they have kind of sidelined it and they're like waiting when the next line comes in, because the actual concept or the topic that we are sharing or something that interesting is going on over there, right? So they are in anticipation waiting that okay, when will this get over and we'll start. So it's okay. It's all about keeping the confidence. It's all about not letting it show on your face. And if that happens, joke about it on your own self and own it and move forward from it. It's about forgiving ourselves first when we make mistakes. I think I easily do that, because I feel that it's okay. 8 hours we are standing and performing over there, and jugal bandi is happening, and lot of concepts and lot of activities, and then there's videos, and then we are debriefing about an activity. There's so much that's happening in that entire day, or that 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours, whatever hours are given to us. So it's okay. Right? The best of people end up doing these things, and firstly, it's important to forgive yourself for that. Immediately, that's when you can start moving forward and say, like, "Ha, ho gaya. Now listen to this. Mudde ka baat ye hai." Right? And then we can take it lightly, laugh at ourselves, and move on. So yes, it happens to me, and it happens more than often. But we own it and we move forward.
I keep doing that in workshops. Speaking of laughing at ourselves.
Yes.
Oh God. It reminded me when you said that. Recently we did a 2-day very intense workshop, and there was this whole set of 15-20 participants from that very reputed organization sitting in a U shape. And there were 2 TVs behind us, and we both were speaking. And for some reason, we tend to cover the floor when we speak, right? And every time I stepped around a little and I went a little in the corner, there was a puffy that was kept there for me to
Okay.
sit whenever I was exhausted. There was an activity going on, and I just kept almost tripping on it every single time.
Like she would sit down on it.
And then finally, at one point, I just sat down and said, "Okay, I'm going to take the session from here now." And that got a little laugh from everybody, and it lightened the atmosphere because we were talking about something very intense at that time. And you have to be a little bit goofy.
Yeah, and then we both picked that up quickly while laughing and put it on the side. And
Luckily,
said,
she didn't have to pick
and then,
me.
yeah, I immediately shouted at her on the stage, and then now you don't fall.
So these kind of things happen, right? And so when you're covering stage, it's very, very important that you don't cover it too much. We tend to walk a lot. If you see a lot of speakers, and I'm talking about reputed platforms where people are speaking, they're holding the remote in their hands and they're constantly going from one end to the other. For the audience, it's dizzy. I'm watching the person going like that, like a tennis match.
Yes,
Wow.
very.
No, I feel dizzy. So when we're coaching individuals and they're speaking and we're telling them that, okay, now rehearse this part, and then they're moving, or they're swinging,
Oh, yes.
or
the
they're sitting on their
chairs.
chair and
Oh my
swinging.
God.
So we keep saying that, don't, मुझे चक्कर आ रहा है, I'm feeling dizzy. Please stop doing that.
Right.
So these things matter a lot. So you have to map your area a little bit, and these kind of fumbles happen, and then how lightly you can take that. And then there was one more episode I would love to share because don't look at
I
me
love
like
the
that.
stare.
We had kind of, this is early years of our like session, so we
Okay.
were excited, and it was the first, second, third corporate that we were doing a workshop, and we were just kind of excited and planned and overnight, and we said, you take this part and you take this part, and then we will kind of cross
Yeah,
and whatever.
and he write in the cue card
So
also.
a little bit, just-
SG and yes.
Yeah, all that we used to do.
Yeah, we
So
used to do all
there was
that.
this time when I was so into this subject. It sometimes happens when you're too involved also. I was so into it that I suddenly felt blank. I went blank. It never happens.
Right.
Right? So I was like, and then, and I pointed to her.
What am I supposed to say? Of course, we knew each other's script and we knew what's coming next.
So then she
Right.
kind of said, okay, like, we had planned this way, but okay, I'll
fine,
take
I'll
over.
go. And then I went.
And that's happened both ways.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it has, we've kind of, stepped in ahead and taken care of the other. When you have a
And improvise as
co-speaker,
well.
when you have a co-speaker, but when you're speaking alone,
Yes.
you have to have cue cards.
Yeah. Also, when you're speaking alone, like she said, one is blanking out, the other is losing the trail of thoughts. When you're sharing that we have 3 points on this and then number 1 this and then suddenly number 2 or 3
It doesn't come.
It doesn't come. And so at that point of time, what we have found, value in, what helps us is taking a nice intelligent pause.
Yeah, it makes a huge
say
difference.
that one point, now you know okay, my trail has gone. Okay. Now I'm gone. I don't know what's coming next. Right? Now
Right.
you know it, but it's in your head. Nobody knows. Right? Even the partner doesn't know if we talk about us, right? So it's then important. Of course, if we realize, we'll pick it and then we'll say the next point and the third
There are two
one.
kinds of pauses.
Then again, the third one I'll take, that happens between us. But when you're alone, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So what happens then, it's important to take that very intelligent pause, repeat the first one. Okay, what is the first one that I said? Very interestingly saying that and taking a long pause and time with that one sentence that you just said, and then it just comes.
You get the time to think.
You get the time to think, and it just comes.
Recollect.
Because again, it's collectively 20 plus 20 and the 10 years of this company that we are running. So it's for 50 years of collective experience that is there, and then of course we know the concept so well that it's just in the flow, as she said, that it just kind of trail goes, but it's not that we don't know now.
Right.
So once you've done that, you will find yourself again in control, and you'll come back and then you'll be able to finish what you were saying, which is a very handy tool that we keep using, right?
Yeah.
Right. That's pretty amazing. I wish I had knew that when I was in college, but still,
You didn't have
nevertheless.
new
New.
then.
I was just about to say that. But
now we
now
do.
you do have new. Everyone has new.
Exactly. That was pretty amazing.
Yes.
Any more stories about
Oh,
this?
we have lots.
Yeah. Can you share one at least?
When we are coaching people
Yeah.
for communication, right? And public speaking or storytelling is one part of it. And there we always leave everyone with one message very strongly that we cannot not communicate. So I
Right.
wanted to say that, and I always deliver that with a lot of impact and a lot of modulation and all of that, right?
Right.
It creates a good impression,
Right.
and people remember it.
Right.
And then there's this one line which I love to say is dil ki baat dimag se.
Ah.
Because you need to, ultimately it's all about putting yourself out there and sharing your thoughts and speak from the heart. And I obviously, because we use our hands to express, I did that. But I said dil ki baat dimag se.
Oh.
Okay?
Yeah.
And one in the audience would think that it's a boo boo or a blooper, which it was. The first time I did it in the early years.
Yeah.
And I realized that at that time, your true self also comes out when you're on stage. And this line has so much depth, if you think about it, that they're all connected,
Yeah.
and it's confused, right? So you just kind of say that dil ki baat dimag se, and then that leaves a stronger impact.
Yes.
So even in the way, if we land up making a so-called mistake which we don't believe exists,
Right.
mistakes do not exist.
Yeah.
They're just learnings or experiences, right?
Yeah.
So dil ki baat
Yeah.
dimag se.
That's
It's like
wonderful.
expressing your emotions but mindfully.
Yes,
Yes.
And then how you
absolutely.
recover. That's how she, and now it's become a thing, okay? So she in fact uses it to her advantage, and every time does this and confuses the audience, and then they realize, and then like, ha ha ha.
Yeah,
So
that
It's
happens.
about
Yeah.
recovering and using it even
Yeah.
intelligently.
Now you know the
We
tricks
will-
of playing with
Very
it.
intelligent, very
Yeah,
intelligent.
thank you. Madam Jo.
Honestly speaking, camera might have captured it, but I really didn't got it the first time. It took me nearly 3 to 4 seconds to grab that.
You got, yeah, I got you too. We normally say gotcha.
No, but you know, these smallest of the things actually give you the biggest impressions and learning.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So I think we and our listeners,
Yeah.
you know, we both are very lucky to listen to all these experiences that you've shared with us, because as funny as they sound, but they have a deeper meaning to it and learning to it.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad everyone else is learning from our
Yeah.
It's our
bloopers.
pleasure.
Yeah, we attribute all of this to being so blessed
Yes,
that we are,
absolutely.
that we've got so many opportunities to experience this and become
Yeah, we're absolutely
strong at what we do.
grateful. We
Right.
only feel that we are born to do this,
Right.
and we're born to inspire and be that catalyst, right? To inspire people to find themselves and shine in the world. Yeah.
Open up and
Yeah.
live your life.
And
Right.
yeah, stage wage kuch nahi hota. Because that's why we keep saying this all the time. That public speaking, that phrase itself can be very intimidating to a few. In fact, quite a few.
Right.
The point here is that if you are using those skills to speak to people, you can extrapolate that to a larger audience whenever you want to.
Right.
It's a conversation is a skill.
Wonderfully said. And like this is the first time we are doing an offline episode as well, and
Yes.
I'm looking at you that you have this namaste thing a very big time. I haven't seen you that doing it when we were doing it online.
We
So
generally, are
Yeah, we
very
normally it
thankful
comes very
for
naturally.
everything.
yeah, but I like that, and you are grateful human beings, I would say,
Yeah.
who are doing some amazing work and adding values in people's life. However, to complete the episode on the lighter side,
Okay.
I have one question for you, Bhuvneshwari. Okay, I mean, you were so good while saying that mothers do these things so that they can push us and so that we can become better and etc. etc.
Right.
But you are now a mother yourself.
Yes,
right?
since 19 years.
Since
now.
19 years, right?
She's also a mother to me now.
So what are you going to do? Okay, like are you going to push her the same way your mother did it, or is it going to be like a little backward and letting her do her thing? What it's gonna be?
Yes, my parenting style has been very, very offbeat and experimental. And I think I've observed again that from my own parents who have let us be, who have not pressured us in any
Never.
way, and just seen us blossom beautifully in whatever we are interested in doing. I think it comes from there, and then the other, rebellious way of being that when I've seen something that's happening either in school or somewhere else, and then I've thought to myself that okay, this is not correct. I would do it rather this way. And it doesn't come from any arrogance that oh, I know better and I'm more knowledgeable and I have more wisdom or anything, but it just comes from this I think that's a quality a coach has, right, where you see and feel that it's just important to give each child, and I speak for myself as a mother, and that's what I've done for my daughter. That I've always been, a person who will guide her, and whenever she needs any input or insight or suggestion or advice for that matter, I've just been, as she said, like we are best at being catalysts, right? I've just
Yeah.
been that to her.
Right.
And we were discussing before
Yeah.
the show shoot that it's important also to understand the leadership. Like a mother is also a leader, right? The first leader that we have in our lives, the first boss, right? So I feel leadership is, again, it's a myth that you have to lead people
Yeah.
from the front. I feel that it's very important to learn from a mere shepherd also, right? Who stays behind the entire herd and then directs them to the right place that he wants them to go. So I think parenting or motherhood also is of that sentiment where this is another individual altogether. It's not the same. It's not you, right? So how can you bring them up exactly the way you were or you weren't? You have to let them be and flourish in whatever they want to, and when they have their issues or situation or challenges, not mistakes, not I don't treat any mistake as a mistake, it's just these learning experiences. It's they should have that much space in the house with their parents or with their mothers, that they can come and own their mistakes and sit and then, now you tell me what I have to do about this.
Right.
I've done this, and that's the space I think I've very successfully created for her. And yes, of course, when she does amazing things, I'm the first one, the cheerleader who cheers for her and claps and even jumps in joy when she's taking that graduation certificate.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Or standing on stage and dancing, and all of these other things that she does beautifully. She's an amazing actor itself. She's a stylist, all of that, and she's pursuing psychology.
Dancer.
So yes, and now I see that she's reflecting all that back to me, right? She gives me that space to have a adult great conversation with her. So yes, I take much pride in that, and that's the kind of mother or inspirer that I am.
Wonderfully said. However, so it's one thing that is clear, that she is not going to, go to her and say, "Aaj tane bolwanu છે stage upar jaine." She is not going to do that.
That she will not do. Mom, I don't want to do this.
That will always happen with a boss.
Yes.
When I was part of the corporate jungle, okay, can I call it that? Yeah, it's a lovely jungle.
Well, you
to be
can,
in,
I can't,
because
but
that was
still.
my 20-year MBA, as I call it. But there was this one instance which was an HR event where we gathered all the employees under one roof, and everybody was waiting for the presentations to begin by all the CEOs and HODs and all of that. And here I am running around getting the technical aspects of the presentations and all of that. And in that, what happened is that there was some technical glitch which was going to take about 10 to 20 minutes to solve. So the gentleman who was my superior, my boss, says, "Listen, just go talk to the audience for 10 minutes while we solve this."
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, what do I have to say? And then I realized that, I'm the head of HR. It was my idea to gather all these people under one roof, and I'm going to pour my heart out. And they were people from different parts of the country. A lot of them were from the rural areas of Gujarat as well. And they were from small towns, and they were working in the factory and some of us in the city and all of that. And within those few minutes of inspiring all of them and telling them that all of you are connected to this brand and this group and the owner of the company and all of that. And in those few minutes, we were all able to get that 10 minutes, time utilized well, inspired them, took them to a high where that kind of set the tone for the entire day. So sometimes it's not your own.
Right.
I won't use the word mistake, but something that came up, a situation,
Right.
and then how do you make up for it? And then that's where your natural self should surface. So we
Wonderful.
always tell people that get to know yourself as much as you can, because that will help you express yourself better. And when you learn to express yourself better and you prepare, whether it's one person or it's 1,000, doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Doesn't matter.
But also this situation that you just spoke about, if you wouldn't have taken that as an opportunity and you wouldn't have done what
Yeah.
you were supposed to do,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have turned out to be like that.
Absolutely.
And we weren't discussing about it like that.
Right.
So it's very important, I feel, for people to understand that every circumstance that is
Is an
coming your way, to take it as an opportunity.
So true.
So true.
So
And
true.
because only then you will be able to take action.
Yeah, and after years, like us, you will be able to sit and laugh on it and say that these were my learnings, and thank God I did it.
And it's the best emotion experienced at that time, right? You feel elated when you get that loud cheer and a standing ovation.
Of course,
It's
yes.
Of
amongst
achievement.
quite a few.
You
that
start valuing
we
yourself
feel-
more, right?
Yeah, it's the best feeling in the world, isn't
Wonderful.
it?
Absolutely. That stage.
Yeah.
So lovely.
We love it.
Greatly pointed out, Nityanshi. Now I'm going to do that very often.
Please do that. It's very important. to do
So,
with
guys,
partner.
with that being said, a lot of stories, wisdom, and a lot more things to come out in the future episodes. So, I hope that this was fun for you, and the learnings you have learned from this episode has been much, much greater. And if it has, then make sure to share it with your loved ones, because अकेले लड्डू खाना अच्छी बात नहीं होती. Okay, so make sure to share it with your loved ones. With that being said, this is Aaditya Mehta,
And I'm Nityanshi Mody.
along with Sonal Gadvi and Bhuvneshwari, signing off from this episode. See you in the next one. Till then, peace out.
Out.